So the third person sitting there, and you know what it reminded me of? A sword from Power Rangers. It's like, choo, you know? Yeah. They just press the button and then they're on.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. Today, we're going to talk to you guys all about the Dakar Rally, more specifically about our experience watching it, following it for the very, very first time. If you've been following our channel this month, we've talked about it a couple of times. We still have to cover the last week of stages, and let's get right into it.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say, right? First of all, Dakar, I'm a huge fan. Now I've watched it for the very first time. I'm a huge fan. Once again, because it seems like this is this grand adventure that people are going on. I mean, of course, especially for the professional drivers, it is also a competition, but there's a lot of people also participating that it's just their dream and they want to go on this adventure. They talked about this one guy who sold his business to participate in the Dakar. What a huge commitment, but he's like, yeah, I'm going to sell this so I can follow my dream, and I think that's awesome.
And not only that, he was one of the first Irish competitors in apparently a long time.
In the motorcycle or the bike.
Yeah, and then he sold his business. I mean, I don't blame him. Like, it seems like such a fun and cool adventure. And also, speaking of that, like, there was another team that competed in one of the, I think it was the challenger categories. They competed solely to support the other teams in their group or in their team.
Yes, they were team.
Yeah, basically, I mean, they're really good mechanics, and that was their forte.
Yeah.
So they went in not to place, not to win. They went in just to be there to support their other manufacturer teammates, essentially.
Yes.
They had hundreds of kilos, I think.
150
kilo of parts, of spare parts in their vehicle just to help out along the road. And I just thought that was so cool.
And it also makes, you would think like, okay, do you really need that? You do need that, even like when we get to the winners at the end, like there's a reason why there were team orders done like 2 stages before that ended up paying off for the winner of that series later on. And it's mind-boggling to me that not only is it like you help out your fellow competitor, but there's also like this team strategy going on. So it's really, really cool. And the one thing I actually wanted to get to is like when they're talking about like anything can still happen. Literally anything can still happen. If you would just, I mean, I would highly recommend watching all of the highlights, right? Once again, NBC Motorsports does actually a really great job in the coverage of each stage. And they take time to break down every single category and give people like highlights and stuff like that. But yeah, literally till the last stage, things stayed and things changed and huge upsets.
Yeah, there were quite a bit of upsets during, like, just the last 2 stages changed a lot.
Huge.
I mean, let's might as well get into it. Let's talk about the different winners and then maybe also about how they became winners.
Yes.
Start with the top category, like the ultimate car category.
Yes.
Which was won by Carlos Sainz.
Senior.
It's his 4th time winning the Dakar. He's also the oldest driver to ever win the Dakar.
And 4 different manufacturers he won now.
He's the only person who's won it with 4 different manufacturers.
And in honor of him, I do this.
Oh. If you watch the highlights, you notice he always tends to wear his caps a little crooked, even his profile picture.
I don't know if it runs in the family, but every time he wears a hat, it's just slightly tilted.
But I mean, a big congratulations to him and the whole Audi team. Not only is it, I mean, amazing that he's won it the 4th time, it's also amazing in the vehicle that he won it because the Audi vehicle has a complete electric powertrain, which is the first type of that vehicle to win.
I think it was specially engineered also for this.
I mean, which is so exciting. Future, moving forward, sustainability, climate change, all those things in mind. Yeah. But I mean, it was not an easy win for him. He did not even win a stage.
No, he never won a stage.
Won a single stage.
In fact, the last stage, stage 12, he came in 17th.
Yeah. Yes.
I will say he wasn't pushing because at that point he was already had an hour and 12 minutes for the second place. So I'm sure he was just playing it safe. But it is very interesting. He drove, like Carlos Sainz Jr. said, he was just smarter than the other drivers. He kept it. He had his incidents and stuff like that, but he was playing it smart. He'd never like push too much or risk anything. And then he ended up winning the Dakar, and that's huge.
And good for him also is that he had two other Audi vehicles in the same category that were able to support him. Unfortunately, those two teams had some unlucky moments during the Dakar Rally, so they were not quite competing for the top spot anymore. So then team orders or team strategy came into place. That, for example, at one stage, Ecclestrom, he led. He was the first to kind of figure out navigation. Then Carlos was able to follow in the tracks as much as possible. And then Peter Hansel, who is the third Audi driver, his team or his car was behind them, or he would wait until Carlos passed for him to be behind him in case he needs anything. He would arrive shortly after to assist with an additional tire, which was needed at some point. So it was very smart by Audi as well. I mean, it makes sense that if you have those cars available and if the other two are not competing for the win anymore, to use that. But I mean, what a advantage, because on the other hand, Sebastian Loeb, who won 5 stages.
Yes.
He won 5 stages of the car this year. He was a little bit unlucky on, I think it was the 11th stage. So the second to last stage, he had one of his parts of the car broke, and he had to wait a long time for somebody to stop to be able to help him replace it, because he didn't have that spare part. And not everybody would carry that spare part or would be able to spare that spare part in case something happens.
And it was also very interesting because it wasn't actually, so they thought they would have to wait for the service trucks, which they usually start at the very end. But another, I think a Chinese driver actually ended up stopping and helping them repair, which once again comes to that adventure sense. And then they were able to, they had like an hour delay, which, in stage 11 is absolutely terrible thing to happen. But and I mean, to be fair, also Sebastian Loeb, what a fantastic rally racer in general. He had a huge, fantastic career, and he did an excellent job in Dakar. And I hope we'll see him next year, because one of the unfortunate things, also one of his teammates, also Nasser Al-Attiyah, we talked about it in the last video where we talked about Dakar. He was out of the competition to win, and then he ended up having, I think it was a power terrain failure or something like that. So he ended up being out of Dakar completely. So she didn't really have an assist car to help him win.
Yeah, because that was Nasser's idea, like, oh yes, I'm out of the competition myself, so I'll be here to support Loeb and his co-driver. But then unfortunately, I think it was during like the 10th stage, his car there was no way of
fixing it or bringing it back. Failure.
Yeah, so it was just such a bummer, because he's also such a legend. I mean, the 3 of them, there's so many legends in the car. I mean, because you have to be legendary to compete, especially in that top category. But I'm excited also for next year's Dakar, because one of the Saudi locals, Dania, she's going to be competing in the ultimate car category next year. She's going to go up from the light vehicles up to the ultimate cars, to the top category of Dakar. So I'm very much looking forward to following her next year. Unfortunately, she had some unlucky moments.
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of her Dakar journey this year was plagued by like mechanical and technical failures. So nothing really that she had control over. But the good thing is her last stage, she ended up in 4th place then. So she had a good end to the car, especially because if you are a local, I'm always kind of rooting for you a little bit. Because it is exciting that you are able to compete in your home country. So I'm very excited to see her next year. I think technically Nasser Al-Attiyah also already signed for a team in 2025.
Oh, perfect. That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he wants to win more.
I mean,
like he's already won 5.
He couldn't finish this year. I'm sure there's, like, he wants to at least come back and finish it. Yeah,
absolutely. So once again, huge congratulations to the team Audi for doing an excellent job, to Carlos Sainz Jr., just Junior, Junior for visiting your dad, Carlos Sainz Sr. for winning. Excellent job, especially also at his age. Like a huge feat to have completed. Absolutely.
Absolutely incredible. Moving on, I mean, every single category was so fascinating to watch. So the next up was the light prototypes, the challengers, and it was also a huge upset. In our last video, we talked about the Gottschall family, which were, unfortunately, two of them, the son and the uncle, were disqualified due to that carbon piece being in the clutch, which wasn't allowed.
Yes, and also, like, just wanted to point that out because I'm not sure if we made that clear in the last video, but now that we also saw clarification of that, the piece didn't necessarily give them any type of like speed advantage, and Eric didn't dominate the light or prototype division because of that piece. He dominated because of what a great driver he is, right? The piece itself, however, has I guess higher durability.
Yes, it has more reliability, and there's also a matter of cost. So yes, unfortunately he was disqualified, which already caused some kerfuffle.
A huge upset in the category because he was ahead by so much, and now it blew up the whole category. For the majority, actually up until stage 12, Mitchell Guthrie, so the American racer, he was in first place, and he actually had a 25-minute lead. I think about 25-minute lead going into stage 12, and he even talked about it. There was an interview about him talking about like foreshadowing really, that you never know what will happen or what is going to happen.
You haven't won the race until
or you haven't won Dakar.
Until you finish the last mile. I mean, anything can happen at any point, and it really
did.
True, and it's
heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking.
So Mitchell Guthrie ended up coming second,
which is still amazing.
It's still amazing, but he ended up having technical difficulties, and so his car ended up actually being towed by another car towards the end. And that means Cristina Gutierrez from Spain ended up winning the Dakar 2024 at the light prototypes division. So congratulations to you, Cristina, and your co-driver. But what a huge, that's literally that's what I meant when they said like it stays competitive and it stays interesting until the very last stage, because that happened also last year, I think, in the bikes. The gentleman who won last year was actually down, and the first place up in going into 12th stage was up 25 minutes. He ended up having a misfortunate event, and then he ended up coming third. So it stays interesting all the way until the end, which is also mind-boggling for something that takes place over 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they drive for 50 plus hours. Like, we can see, like, Cristina Gutierrez, she finished the competition in 53 hours, 59 minutes, and 47 seconds. So it's a long time that they spend in those vehicles. Like, obviously, it depends on the category. There's some plus or minus. Still, speaking of bikes, an American won the bike category this year. Ricky Brabeck won. We actually heard about that because we watched the final Dakar on Sunday after our AMA Supercross watch party. So then during it, they gave a shout out to him that he won the Dakar, which was such a nice surprise. So excited for him. He did lead his category for a while. However, it was not by much. He was even talking about it. The last time he won a couple years ago, he had won, I mean, he was leading right after the first stage by quite a bit. But this time it was really, very close. Him and Branch, they were just a couple minutes apart. I mean, a couple Dakar minutes, which is like, it's easily
one pop tire, and that is easily made up. I think the end difference seems to be like 11 minutes, which is it's not a lot in Dakar, you know. Also, I want to say Russ Branch, what a cool dude. He's just seems like he's second place, and he's from Botswana, and he just seems like a really nice, cheery dude, you know. Good energy, good vibes all around.
For sure. And also a shout out to Adrian van Beveren, who is third in bikes. It was his first time on the podium. He's going to come back, and wants to win in the bikes. He's from France originally. And he also, I mean, a lot of them have just such a sunny disposition. They are so excited to be there. Like, yes, they know it's challenging. That's what they're there for. They're there for the challenge, for the adventure. And they're just so excited for every single next challenge.
And I think Adrian was, that was like his 9th time at Dakar.
Yeah.
So it was like, especially like he was just waiting to finally make it onto the podium. So I'm really, really happy for him as well.
Yes.
In general, of course, I'm happy for everyone.
Everybody.
But it's like when you hear stuff like that, it's just, especially like he stuck around 9 years. That's a long time to wait, or 9 attempts. I don't know if it was consecutive. To make it to the top. And so huge congratulations. Good job all around for bikes, because that seems to be the craziest category to race in. Quads is already also very difficult because you're racing by yourself. But bikes, because you're on 2 wheels, obviously, it seems to me even crazier.
Yeah. And then, so speaking of quads, Andujar from Argentina ended up winning.
Yay. Congratulations.
Also by just, I think it's like 8 minutes, which is also very impressive. Him and Juro were like constantly, like they were like right on top of each other. I mean, the quads is also, like, it's nuts. They're like we've been saying from the first video, they're literally squatting the entire time. I mean, it must be so
they're squatting for 64 hours, 16 minutes, and 33 seconds. Yeah, I'm sure they'll sit down for a little bit, but most of the time, especially when you go through the rocky parts, you cannot be sitting on your bike or on your quad. That's just not an option.
Yes.
So it's very, very impressive.
What I also thought was very interesting, at the end, I think only 7 quad competitors ended up finishing. So there was a lot of, unfortunately, retirements throughout it. Also in the trucks, moving on to the next category, there was also lots of retirements, and there was a lot of time difference in the trucks. We ended up winning was Maciek from the Czech Republic, which is also a huge comeback for them.
Because they hadn't, like a Czech team hadn't won in a long time. And this time they got first and second place. So congratulations to you guys. What a huge
And he won, Maciek and his team, so they're a team of 3 people in the truck, won by almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is also what the commentator said is that the trucks tend to have bigger time difference, which I guess makes sense.
Oh, because once you get stuck, it takes forever.
I mean, it's much more difficult to get a 10-ton truck out of the sand dune versus a lightweight prototype, you know? Which it makes a lot of sense, but it's just kind of, it's interesting how big the time differences are in the trucks versus the others. Unfortunately, last year's winner had a lot
Van
of just,
Kesteren,
had just such a bad luck streak this time. He did say that he realized that or maybe he knew it before, but he thinks one of the issues was that his truck was about 800 kilos heavier than Maciek's truck, which does make a big
that's almost a ton.
Yeah,
that's almost a ton
big
extra.
Difference. So I think that's what he thinks. I mean, they're going to, of course, evaluate and see what else was an issue. So I'm curious to see how things are going to go next year.
I also would like to point out, and if anyone knows the answer to this, would be very interesting. A lot of Dutch people racing in the trucks category, and I wonder why. Like, why is it that's our go-to? It's very interesting. Maybe they had a lot of Dutch people succeed, and so that you have more people focusing on that.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like a family thing because a lot of them had like their dad or their uncle or something competing. So maybe it is like a family thing. But it is very interesting that it's like you can see the top 10 is like 80% Dutch
and Czech.
Yeah.
Dutch and Czech,
But yeah, also such an interesting category. So,
I love the trucks.
Who would think about taking what was it, like an 10-ton truck
through the desert? We're just gonna hit this dude, guys.
I mean, but then also like we've been saying, like the shots of like this huge truck behind like this little motorcycle, or even just the cars. It's just like it's so intimidating.
It is, yeah.
But such an interesting category to follow as well.
Yeah, something really random to say. But this time, it was the first time I actually saw a shot inside the trucks. So you have the driver, you have someone sitting next to the driver, and then you have kind of in between with like a monitor and everyone. So the third person sitting there, and you know what it reminded me of? A sword from Power Rangers. It's like, you know, they just press a button and then they're on. I just saw it the whole time. I was like I imagined them kind of like in Mighty Morphin when they like drive into their swords, you know, when they're on their seat. That's what it reminds me of. But that makes it cool, you know. I just want to say we're not making fun. That makes it cool.
Like cool.
Cool to us, yeah.
So lastly, we have the SSV category, which was also, I mean, all the categories had excitement up until the last minute.
Yes.
For this one specifically, we had, I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly, Solta. He and his co-driver drove into the last stop, and they were in the car, and they knew it was close.
Yes.
But they were like, did we win? And they were shouting out to people, did we? Whatever.
It's like, and then they're like, I don't know. And then they're like, look at the paper.
Look at the time card. They looked at it, and then they found out that they won. I think it was by like 2 minutes. Yeah, it was 2 minutes.
2 minutes and some change.
Which is also so close.
Yes.
But it was also such excitement.
And that one had the big upset also for the American driver. And also the one I was kind of rooting for too, because she's from California, Sarah Price.
Yeah.
And she was killing it. She won a stage.
She was pretty consistent at the beginning. Then she did win.
I think she won stage 10, and then immediately was the upset right after, which is they had 3 punctures.
Yes, they had like 3 punctures. It was
3 punctures, and then 50 kilometers before the end, both of their front tires done, and they had to, like, the tire was destroyed. They didn't have a spare tire.
Because they already used all of them. Because the second to last stage was extremely rocky. So there was a lot of punctures in general, but they just used up all their tires, and then
that is probably the essence also of the car. Partly, like, you have this huge high you hit, and then you get bam, puncture, you know.
So she ended up making it to 4th.
Yes,
so
4th.
Just missing
For
podium.
the first time also participating in the Dakar. I also don't know how much rally experience she has. I know that she has race or driving experience because she's a stunt driver.
Yeah, she's a stunt driver.
But I hope also that we'll get to see her next year. But once again, so devastating. Because she had a chance to win it. She had a chance to win it. What an event.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I would say, yes, I would totally watch the car next year again. I'm already looking forward to it. I'm hoping one day I will be able to, 1, watch it in person, and then 2, maybe even participate as one of those non-championship participants. You know what I mean? Like one of the people who just want to participate in the adventure, but they're not, I wouldn't participate for points or anything like that.
Yeah, just like casually win it, right? No, but like, to just like take part in this grand adventure. And we've talked about this briefly, I think, in the last video. If you are a rookie driver and then you, let's say you have like a misfunction or something like that, and you're essentially out of the race, you can still complete the car, but you're not contributing towards your standing overall. But they let people participate, because for some people, they sell their business and this is their once in a lifetime, you know, opportunity to participate. So it's cool that they give people that opportunity.
And because it's also such an amazing, I mean, you can see in the highlights, as we said, highly recommend watching the highlights, but just the scenery that they drive through.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, gorgeous landscape.
The last bit was right along the Red Sea, which was also just...
And it's not red, it is very, very blue, in a gorgeous blue.
I mean, absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, definitely recommend watching it. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely check out the highlights. Even if you just watch a couple of them, there's so much to see, so much to learn. I mean, it's just also impressive. The drivers, the co-drivers,
everyone,
what they can do during the rally, just like fixing their own cars.
Fixing their whole cars and fixing this and that. But I will also say a huge shout out, and I know they've been doing this for years, but the people who organize the Dakar, you're purposely organizing a race event in a very remote place, right? And it takes so much commitment, and like, I know from everyone, like from people who are, you know, servicing the cars to the event organizers, the camera people, to every single person. I mean, first of all, thank you for putting this together. What an amazing thing. And also, once again, NBC does a really great job covering it.
We're not sponsored by NBC.
We're not. We're just a fan of racing, and they're making it possible for us to watch.
Yeah, it's very accessible. I mean, I wish I could watch more of it.
Yes.
But the highlights that they shared was definitely, I mean, it was also just well done with the music, the suspenseful. Like, you could sense in the music, something's about to happen.
When the commentators say something, we'll get to that or something. Like, oh no. No.
Some punny moments in there too. So yeah, it's definitely fun to watch. I mean, it just gets me excited about racing in general. Also, just to see some of these legends or everybody who participates in Dakar is a legend. Like to be able to do that, it's absolutely incredible. But then also the people who've participated for many, many times, who have won it several times. I mean, it's just such a feat. And I think it's really cool that they have the Mission 1000 category.
They do 1,000 kilometers.
I think it is 1,000 kilometers, where they have like a hydrogen fuel cars, electric motorcycles, just to kind of encourage the development of those types of vehicles, which I think is really, really cool. Then of course they have the classics with like an old Porsche, an old Skoda, an old...
I think they had a Nissan,
like,
so all different types of old school cars. And then also, I think in the classic division of the Dakar, you have a lot of people who also have appreciation of the original Dakar spirit and taking cars that are not like highly modified and not with modern technology, right? They're racing cars that are like 30 years old, right? And then they're racing them through the desert in Saudi Arabia. So it's
I
really
wouldn't even
cool.
drive my Mini here through the desert in California.
My car can't handle it. Congratulations to all the winners. Congratulations to everyone who participated, whether you made it to the end or not. Huge, congratulations to everyone. I'm very excited for Dakar 2025.
Yeah.
That is our big Dakar review.
Yes. Let us know in the comments below if you watched Dakar this year.
Yeah.
Or maybe if we sparked a little excitement in you and you might want to watch it next year. Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in. As per usual, remember to like and subscribe. And
this is the subscribe button.
Like and subscribe. And as per usual, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.